Welcome to our channel. Many of us are surely curious about what will happen if the population continues to grow and whether there will ever be space for humanity. We might assume that with the population growing at such a rapid pace, the world will eventually become overcrowded. But is that really the case? In today's video, we will explore what it might look like if our Earth becomes overpopulated, the consequences of population growth, and how our planet could respond. Finally, we'll also delve into the mystery of the Georgian Guidestones, on which a new set of 10 commandments has been carved, one of which is particularly ominous, suggesting that the human population should be maintained below a very low threshold. But before we delve into that, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and without further ado, let's get started. It's hard to imagine that the world could actually be even more overcrowded than it is today. In 2022, all media reported that there are already 8 billion of us on Earth. The United Nations set the date for surpassing this milestone precisely on November 15, 2022. It took humanity millions of years to reach 8 billion inhabitants, but more than 7 billion of them have been added in the last 3 centuries alone. The world's population continues to rise, and the United Nations predicts that by 2050, the population will reach 9.7 billion people. This growth shows no signs of slowing down, but the potential effects of overpopulation are catastrophic. More people mean fewer resources, leading to numerous economic and health crises. Along with the population, our needs are exponentially increasing, and the majority of them are met from Earth's resources. It's not just about fossil fuels, which, according to some sources, we could deplete by 2060. It also involves precious metals like copper, silver, zinc, silicon, needed for the production of, among other things, solar panels. Besides well-known non-renewable resources, we are also depleting unexpected ones. The level of oxygen, the second most abundant gas in the atmosphere, has been decreasing for about 1 million years. The main issues include carbon emissions and deforestation. But what else besides all this would overpopulation bring? First and foremost, it would be miserable morning commutes. Naturally, terrible traffic would be one of the more immediate results of an excessively large number of people. While infrastructure improvements would eventually help alleviate some congestion, the sheer volume of cars filling highways and roads would mean that securing space would take much longer. Overcrowded public transportation would also be a noticeable problem. Don't think that commuting to work will be a breeze in 30 years, just because you take the subway. The growing population would also create enormous pressure on subways, buses, and other forms of public transportation. Large cities from New York to Melbourne are already struggling to keep up with their patrons, and this would worsen if population predictions came true. Another issue would be a lack of water. While water makes up over 70% of the Earth's surface, more than 95% of it, according to the BBC, is undrinkable. And in comparison to the demand for it, we are facing an increasing shortage of fresh water. Moreover, the current population already faces water scarcity issues. According to the World Wildlife Fund, approximately 1.1 billion people currently lack access to water, and 2.7 billion people have limited water availability for at least 1 month a year. Overpopulation would undoubtedly result in more natural disasters. You may be wondering what overpopulation and natural disasters have in common. Quite a lot, it seems. The more carbon dioxide in the environment, the more likely significant natural disasters, such as hurricanes or tsunamis, are to occur. Climate change would also worsen. While global climate change is already alarmingly worsening minute by minute, an increase in the number of people on the planet would only intensify this problem. As overpopulated cities expand to accommodate more people, many would be forced to move into previously untouched areas. This creates a problem, and it is estimated that this expansion will lead to the extinction of up to 1/3 of the world's plant and animal species. Deforestation is also related to this, as overpopulation affects deforestation on a truly global scale, even in relatively uninhabited regions. There is a clear correlation between extremely low population density and forest maintenance, meaning that the larger the population grows, the worse deforestation will be. Another problem would be rising food prices. It is assumed that food production must increase by 70% by 2050 to keep up with growing demand. So, if the world's population is already struggling to be adequately fed, it is unlikely to sustain itself for over 25 years. If production cannot keep up with the growing number of people, overpopulation could potentially lead to increased food prices. High food prices, frankly speaking, are a good scenario. The worst-case scenario is a complete lack of food. According to MPH Online, 1 in 8 people worldwide suffered from hunger or malnutrition between 2010 and 2012. This is especially felt in overpopulated parts of the world where demand significantly exceeds the supply of food, and it will only worsen as the population continues to grow. The need to produce more food for a larger population would put pressure on both local and commercial farms. This could lead to the intensive consumption of crops by livestock, known as overgrazing. The lack of rotation for grazing animals, combined with their excessive consumption of natural resources, would degrade the soil and contribute to a whole host of other environmental problems. Another problem would be a higher unemployment rate, as an unsustainable number of people has the potential to lead to fewer job opportunities. This results in an imbalance between the supply of labor and the demand for it. This would lead to reduced economic growth. Understandably, with more people unemployed, the economy is inevitably set to change for the worse. It has also been found that a higher unemployment rate leads to low savings and investment, low economic growth, and a low standard of living. Besides personal savings, even states would face issues considering depleted state funds. Even in developed countries, increasing population growth would require higher expenditures on basic infrastructure, leading to unproductive capital expansion at the cost of deepening capital. In other words, overpopulation would force governments to disperse funds in a way that does not contribute to increased production or productivity. Overpopulation would also bring various diseases, such as an increased rate of respiratory illnesses. The rise in air pollution, which a larger population would inevitably cause, could ultimately lead to an increase in respiratory diseases and asthma. Studies suggest that there would be more cases of lung and bladder cancer. The International Agency for Research on Cancer recently classified outdoor air pollution as a carcinogenic agent, convincingly linking it to lung and bladder cancer. There would also be more cases of skin cancer. As air pollution worsens due to the rapidly growing population, it would lead to ozone layer depletion. The spread of infectious diseases would also intensify. Viruses spread more easily when people are in close proximity. If the population continues to grow at an alarming rate, it goes without saying that people will have much less personal space and a much higher risk of contracting deadly diseases such as meningitis, typhoid, cholera, and others. These diseases would result in overcrowded hospitals. As we have seen after several natural disasters, the combination of too many people and a lack of healthcare resources can create a dangerous situation. The World Health Organization notes that when overwhelmed, public structures such as healthcare facilities represent not only a concentrated area of patients, but also a concentrated area of disease-causing agents. In other words, a larger population could mean delayed treatment for those who need it, as well as further spread of diseases. These are possible consequences of overpopulation on our planet. But will it really unfold this way? Scientists have been trying for decades to predict the future of human civilization, and, through detailed analyses, determine how much our population can grow. While some studies in the past anticipated exceeding 10 billion people, a new report is somewhat more lenient, as some experts believe the maximum population will be lower than the mentioned 10 billion. People have often feared overpopulation in the past, but as it seems, the real problem might be the opposite. According to a new model, the population is expected to peak around 2050, followed by a civilizational collapse. The population will start to decline rapidly, bringing enormous challenges. According to Earth for All, the size of the population is projected to fall to around 7.5 billion people by 2100. In the case of a more stringent analysis, where humanity invests even more in the development of impoverished countries, the population may peak even before 2050, reaching around 8.5 billion, and by 2100, it could drop to just over 5 billion individuals. Will the planet Earth take matters into its own hands? The question of overpopulation is significant not only for us but, above all, for our planet, often referred to as our Mother Earth. It's not a matter of whether we humans can handle this situation, but rather whether Earth itself will manage the consequences of overpopulation. Could it be that Earth takes fate into its own hands much sooner than we expect, and begins to react to the negative impacts of human activity? We can perceive the world as a living organism, and every living organism reacts to unfavorable conditions. You have surely noticed that our planet and climate have been changing lately, and humanity is already facing an increasing number of natural disasters, such as earthquakes, tsunamis, floods, and volcanic eruptions. Various diseases, viruses, and pandemics are also on the rise, which humanity has managed to cope with so far using modern technologies and advanced medicine. But this may not be the case indefinitely. It is possible that the planet Earth might simply say, "Enough is enough." A great mystery associated with the growing population on planet Earth is the monument known as the Georgia Guidestones, a peculiar structure on a hill in Elbert County, Georgia, which proclaimed the new 10 Commandments for the Age of Reason. The first commandment was to maintain the population under 500 million people. This monument was unexpectedly destroyed on July 6, 2022. Early in the morning, local time, someone detonated an explosive device, demolishing one of the 4 stone blocks of the monument. Authorities later decided to completely dismantle it, allegedly for safety reasons. However, many believe in a higher and darker purpose behind this monument, and think that its destruction was intentionally ordered by powers that feared too much attention to the new 10 Commandments could raise uncomfortable questions among the people. The Georgia Guidestones have always been shrouded in mystery and conspiracy theories. The monument was dubbed the American Stonehenge and was erected in March 1980. The commission was ordered by a man using the pseudonym R.C. Christian, claiming to represent a small group of Americans who seek the Age of Reason. Similar to Stonehenge, the monument served as a giant astronomical device, but primarily it represented a carrier of peculiar messages that were meant to become the fundamental laws of the so-called New Age of Reason in the future. It consisted of 4 large granite blocks, each inscribed with the same messages in several contemporary languages. The 10 Commandments, presented in all these languages, called, as mentioned earlier, for maintaining the population below 500 millions in perpetual balance with nature. It further advocated for a single world court, a common language, and a unifying faith. The last commandment was equally startling. Be not a cancer on the earth, leave room for nature, leave room for nature. According to calculations, if the population were to adhere to the Georgia Monument's proposal, nearly 94% of all currently living people would have to disappear, leaving an equivalent population equal to half of present-day India. For some, it is also troubling that human beings were referred to as the cancer of the earth. Certainly, a mysterious monument bearing such a message has become the subject of many conspiracy theories. These theories mostly revolve around secret societies that control the world and aim for the so-called Golden Half-Billion and the New World Order, representing the creation of a single global totalitarian government and the demise of traditional states and nations. Is there any truth to this? Was this monument a warning for humanity, or is it one still? That's all from us for today. If you're interested in videos filled with mysterious mysteries, dark stories, legends, or monsters, and you crave more, subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any new videos.